Today's video will show you how to install virtualization software that will allow you to install guest operating systems and also how to install Ubuntu Linux. To get started, let's go to virtualbox.org and click on Downloads. This is the virtualization software that we're going to be using. And then you select your platform. In this case, I'm using Windows as my host operating system, and so I would click this link here. You can also install VirtualBox on Linux, on Mac, or even Solaris. I've already downloaded this, so I'm going to just pull it up right now, and then double click to run it. And I'm just going to accept the defaults. Click Next. Next again. That looks fine. I'm going to click Install and do the same for all the messages like this in the future. Click Finish to complete the installation. And then we'll restart later. So the next piece of software we need to install Ubuntu is Ubuntu itself. So we'll go to ubuntu.com, find the download link. And then here we have a couple of different options. The primary options are Ubuntu Desktop and Ubuntu Server. The primary difference between desktop and server is that the desktop edition provides a graphical user environment, whereas the server does not. Ubuntu Server is best for things like web servers or database servers or file servers. It's going to be an installation of the operating system where you don't sit down in front of it and use graphical programs. Ubuntu Desktop, on the other hand, is for just that. So I will click Download Ubuntu and take the default 64-bit. I've already done this to save us some time, so I'll just close the web browser here, and you can see that I've downloaded Ubuntu. We'll go ahead and start VirtualBox, and then create a new container or virtual machine for our Ubuntu operating system installation. You can see here that I asked for 3 bits of information: the name, the type, and the version. So I'm going to name it Ubuntu Desktop. And then as I type that in there, it automatically selected Linux as the type and Ubuntu as the version. If it didn't, you can simply use the drop-down boxes and select whatever is appropriate. The minimum amount of RAM recommended is 512 megabytes. I have plenty to use here, so I'm going to dedicate about half my resources to this virtual machine. So I'll use 4096 megabytes or 4 gigabytes. Next, we need to create a virtual hard drive. Click on Create. And the default of VDI is fine, especially if you're not going to be using this disk image with other virtualization software. You have 2 choices here. One is dynamically allocated and the other is fixed size. If your primary concern is about preserving disk space or using as little disk space as possible, choose dynamically allocated. However, if you're looking for performance, use fixed size. That's a fine name. I will specify 100 gigabytes for my hard drive, although 8 gigabytes is sufficient to install Ubuntu too. I like having some additional space. So now we have our virtual machine. Next, we need to install Ubuntu. Let's power on the virtual machine to install Ubuntu. We'll click Start, or you can even right-click and click Start there. Either one is fine. And now it will ask us for the Ubuntu image that we downloaded. I'll select where I downloaded it on my computer and click Start. You have two options here. One is Try Ubuntu, and the second one is Install Ubuntu. Try Ubuntu simply runs the operating system in memory and lets you try it out. However, Install Ubuntu actually writes to your hard disk. In this case, it's going to write to the virtual hard disk in the virtual machine, so we're not going to lose any data, for example, overwrite our current operating system. So that's what we're going to do here, install. I'm going to click continue and accept the defaults here, but you can install third-party software that allows you to play MP3s, for example. And you can also download any patches or bug fixes or other updates for the Ubuntu operating system by clicking download updates while installing. I'll click continue. And I'm going to just erase this disk. Again, it's a virtual disk that we just created. And then you can click on the map for your time zone. I'm just going to leave it at Chicago. And you can choose your keyboard here. And just fill out your account information. And click continue. The installation will take several minutes to complete, so I'm just going to fast forward from this point on. Once the installation completes, your job is done if you're running on physical hardware such as a desktop, a laptop, or a server. However, since we're using a virtual machine, we need to perform one additional step, and that additional step is to install some software that helps Linux understand the virtual hardware that it's working with. And that piece of software is called Guest Additions in VirtualBox. Now that the installation is finished, I'm going to power on the virtual machine. You can highlight it and click Start, or right-click and click Start. Going to log in with the password that I used during installation. And next, since this is a virtual machine, we need to insert the Guest Addition CD image and install the Guest Additions. And then we'll click Run. And it will ask for our password again. So we'll type that in and click Authenticate. And we'll let the VirtualBox Guest Additions install. Okay, that's complete. We'll just hit return or press enter. And then now I'm going to restart this virtual machine so it can use the guest additions. And I'll click restart. Going to log in again with my account. And there, that's so much better. The graphics are filling my display, and Ubuntu is installed.